Rising and Prio, and it's not, to me, it's not the Kalista that makes the whole thing together, as is often the case in Kalista metas. It's that Kalista gets to throw somebody else into enemy back.
And especially when you're looking at like the Rift Herald skirmishes that we're often getting, and you know, these big wombo combos we've been seeing like Diana Yasuo and these kind of things, it just makes sense to have a champion that can fling her support in there and make sure that you're able to win out on those fights with just the sheer amount of CC. But going to be looking at the Tristana on the opposite side. Decent push, shouldn't be bullied out too heavily from the Kalista.
Yep. See how aggressive they want to get on the bottom side as well. See if they can try to grid generate any greater advantages here. Gumayusi and Keria, obviously very talented players, but have looked up and down, I would say, over the course of these stages. First stage, obviously hyper dominant, and second stage has been a little bit sloppy in some instances. Laning phase, though, pretty consistently always a strong point for T1. That said, Lee Sin, the start of a strong jungle mid pairing. Looks like they don't want to give anything away here. 80 carry, support. Ooh, support. Rell. Rising in priority this tournament so far. Don't love it, but it has looked pretty solid.
Yeah, I was kind of interested. I thought they would go for the Lee Sin, and you're kind of going, hey, look, Oner, if you want to go for the Viego here, we've got the good side of the matchup. But kind of saying, hey, look, we don't really mind. If you go for Viego here, we can still pick the Lee Sin last. I just think the biggest problem now is you can go for like Viego here for Oner, maybe take a mid laner for Faker, and suddenly you're into territory of, okay, well, we get a good mid lane matchup because we can ban away more mid laners, or we end up with a really good jungle matchup because we can just ban away more of the junglers for me.
Yeah, and I think giving T1 that kind of edge where they get to shape a matchup like that is always just going to feel so difficult when they're expected to be the favorites. Most certainly in the early game, we'll see how PSG can navigate through, but might not even be a jungler. They might be fine just letting that pool get banned out, letting those champions get taken away, instead just prioritizing their solo laners and saying, hey, look, you get a counter pick for one of these, and we're going to ban away any other potential counter picks immediately after you lock in your third.
Yeah, so I imagine that you'll probably take the mid lane here for Bay just to make sure you can get like a Silas or a Galio or something along these lines. There is always an opportunity to like actually take top and go for like an Orianna or something and still have push, but yeah, it looks like they're going to go with the Galio, and then you probably ban away top laners here on T1. Make sure that Hanabi isn't able to get his hands on things like the Ornn and these kind of things that can set up for strong team fights, because at the moment T1 definitely going to be looking to try and use the globals that they have to put pressure on the map early and try and snowball the game through that.
And the Galio, obviously, with a semi-global response, is going to mitigate some of that threat, or at least be able to respond to some of those options, but it is going to be difficult to play against a T1 who are already packing so many globals. Looking for another big damage threat here on the side of PSG. Don't get me wrong, I am no stranger to seeing Unified be the center of attention in the carry, but would not mind seeing another hyper carry, maybe in the form of a jungler, something like a Graves if it is up and available, as you already have an AP solo laner. Gwen would not hurt either, but would take Hanabi away from that identity we talked about before, where he can just be Mr. Team Play, Mr. Ornn, Mr. Start the Fights, Mr. Dictate the Pace.
And it's well worked for them both in, well, here at MSI in the last game and also domestically, right? Was just going for big team fights at neutral objectives, specifically at Dragons, and I think that's where they kind of got their win last game, so I'm looking to see if they're going to go towards that style again. I'm kind of surprised that they are going for jungle bans, but as you said, like, you are looking for another damage dealer, and if you're going to go with Hanabi on a mega tank, like something like an Ornn or a Sion or these kind of things, well, then you know the damage has to come from the jungle.
Yeah, and of course, Nocturne solid interaction into the Twisted Fate does limit, if timed well, some of the impact of those potential globals. And obviously, you know, it's not really a PCS special. With the VCS in the tournament, anytime I see a Nocturne Galio, I get shaky. We'll see if the PCS could have given us something similar. This is a traumatized European fan speaking. Yeah. Nocturne should never hit level 6 that quickly, never again. Anyway, Ornn banned away. Okay, so respecting some of the things that we talked about with those simple, reliable engage options on the top side, even if a champion like Gangplank would outscale, why give them anything that they would be comfortable with on the side of PSG?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, I think you just try and take your jungle here. I imagine they will go for the Viego, looks like it's going to be, and then maybe Oner just opts into the Lee Sin. You get that good side of the matchup, or maybe the Volibear here, but certainly I think, like, if you're looking at T1, right, it's like, hey, we really need to get the ball rolling early, so let's go for that early aggression. Let's play with something that can synergize well with Faker and the TF, make some plays mid, see if we can get an early advantage, and then have him start to move around the map.
Ooh, Lee Sin, similar. Not quite the same raw early power that Volibear brings, where he feels like no matter who is playing him, he is always a big threat. Lee Sin obviously much more player reliant, but if anyone has been incredibly solid for this team, it has been Oner alongside Zeus. So ready to see what the Lee Sin can do in the early game. The Gragas coming through. Gragas close to pairing, gaining in popularity. Very solid matchup for the Rell, as we've seen this one a few times now over the course of the tournament. So feels like pretty easy way to finish up the draft from the side of T1.
Yeah, I mean, easy belly pop your way out of the Rell. You got good disengage now, and just the ability to kind of like pick fights as you want, right? Because you can disengage, you got the Gangplank ult to make sure that you can kind of get the slows, which makes things easier for like Twisted Fate to get in, something like a Gragas to get in. So it feels like a nice all-rounder comp from T1. Whereas when you look at PSG, right, they're very heavily playing for those team fights, at least at the moment, unless they want to start looking towards those side lanes a little bit better.
Waiting?
No.
Okay, that's what we expected. You don't want your double AD. People really love, you gotta have that separation of damage types. AD jungler almost always means double AP solo laner, so that's gonna be the Galio and the Gwen. Of course, again, Hanabi, solid, reliable player for this team. No doubt that he will fare pretty well against Zeus. That said, when it comes to what the team needs, I don't love seeing the Gwen, Dagda.
I mean, I gotta say though, like when you look at like opportunities for Faker to try and get onto someone with a Twisted Fate, right? You've got Gwen who goes immune, you got Viego's able to dash over wall, Galio's able to get himself out of dodge, the Tristana to get away as well. So they've kind of gone for like an anti-Twisted Fate comp here a little bit. And when you've got a decent like front line, you can still have some fun in team fights, right? I don't hate like what we're going for here from PSG.
Yeah, Faker's gonna have a great time. Gwen goes immune, Viego's unstoppable. Again, Tristana rocket jump. Still find that mechanic highly questionable, but why not? She can just ignore CC. Who cares? It's a skill thing. We'll have to see. Now remember, PSG, they did find a win earlier today. It's a similar story for T1. T1, I still think, heavy favorites in this game. And just to set the stakes here, we're looking at two things. We're looking at the battle for 4th, and we're looking at the battle for 1st. For PSG, if they win here, they will be tied 3-3 with T1. And if T1 win, they will be tied 2nd with the loser of our next game. Whether that ends up being RNG or G2, we will find out. But if T1 want to stay competitive in this race for 1st, that all-important 1st seed, as you do get to choose your opponent as we head into the bracket stage, they need to win here against PSG Talon.
Yeah, and every EG fan is like, for the love of Christ, T1, please, please take this game. Do not give Talon more ammunition.
And that's the big thing, right, is that if you're the team, it's almost more important to be the team that can upset as opposed to the team who can do head-to-head matches. Obviously, both are going to be super important, but even if EG is able to find some edges in the individual matches against PSG, if PSG just keeps taking games off top teams, it might not matter. Here we go, though, Dagda. 5 people on the top side. Getting ourselves a little PCS fight club.
30 seconds until
just wait. Bated breath. Observers teasing us with the vision toggle. They're going to spot a large number, and it looks like all 5 here on the top side, so nothing else going to happen. Just going to be a ward and a bit of XP to the side of PSG.
Yeah, just gotta back away. But obviously T1 spotting them all out. They're gonna move into the bot side, just get some vision for themselves and try and spot out where Juhan is gonna be on these early clears. So I definitely think when we look at like early game, I'm feeling like Oner, has the opportunity to try and set up a Faker here in the mid lane, try and get Bay a little bit uncomfortable from the get-go, especially trying to even just prevent Juhan from going for some sort of like Bay flash into Juhan stun onto Faker as well. It feels like kind of whoever can get this early lead in mid lane is gonna dictate a lot of this early game.
Certainly. And I think that there's no doubt in my mind when we look at T1, despite some of the shakier performances they've had, their early game is still phenomenal. Something that we keep a track of here. Good early vision from T1 spots out the leash, so it means Kalista and Gragas are going to be able to walk up. They've opted not to leash, so it should be easy control of the bot lane for them. Early level 2, obviously crucial in a lot of these more explosive matchups. As Bay walks into lane, just a little bit late, but can't do much as a level 1 Galio anyway, so just going to walk this out.
Yeah, he's going to get pushed in anyway, so it'll all be fine and dandy. I started off with the boots, but probably won't get a chance to use them very early with the Predator. You can already see Faker trying to make sure that he can get that early crash. Make sure that he's not going to be exposed, because like some things that you can do with the Viego in the early stages is like go for these quick level 2 ganks. So oftentimes what you see is mid laners like crash the wave super early on the 2nd wave rather than the 3rd wave, and you can get those wards down and like stop any funny business coming your way.
And certainly would be good to have the option. The fact that they've already tracked the early jungle pathing, knowing that Viego is clearing bot to top, does give them that much more information. He can maybe move towards more. Once he knows a few camps are down, he can play more safely towards the bottom side. That said, Guma and Keria, full control of the bot lane for now. Unified and Kaiwing going to have to wait for a few more levels, and Faker continuing to just use the range advantage well, but despite the fact that he knows that Viego should be more towards this top side, that's where he's playing. He's flashing away, but the Predator is going to be enough. It looks like they might just finish the job. Faker running. Blue card comes in. Not ideal, but now Oner forcing the flash out from Bay. Bit of a back and forth. Waiting on the next Sonic Wave. Leaps in with the safeguard. If he lands the Q, somebody's dying. We'll just go for the camp instead, taking the smaller advantage. Bloody exchange in the mid lane. Dagda, you exactly called it. Early gank comes in from Juhan.
Yeah, I mean, now Juhan actually has to be careful. Like, one of the big advantages for Lee Sin is this early skirmish power, and
kick lands, Juhan. A little bit extra movement speed there as he leaps away with the stun. And now Keria on the way up already. This is that early bot priority. This is the cost of leashing your Viego. The Gragas getting to roam first, but he's not going to do anything.
Oh, he's going to do so much, though. Oner already on the red buff. Juhan super low. This is a super messy. And even with Zeus as well, having push in top, I mean, you could always just come across to help him out.
Oh, no. I can see it in my head already. Oner's queuing over that wall. He finds Juhan. Luckily, Juhan has the smite for healing, and luckily there is nothing in that Krug pit for him to jump to. Bay on the way up. Hanabi there as well, but 3v3 with Keria in the area, too. Definitely favoring T1.
Keria's just kind of sitting here, just has completely, is down a level in the bot side, but I mean, that hasn't really been able to help out too much, but at least giving that support to Lee Sin means that Oner will have full control over this matchup, and now we can kind of start to see, like, all right, T1 already off to a pretty decent lead in the early stages.
Yeah, and it's not just in terms of pressure, in terms of jungle camps that they are able to secure there with that small play in the mid lane, also just on the top side, 28-17, the CS score. Zeus making a good effect of Gangplank and the infinitely obnoxious ranged grass procs. Oh, parlay. Even after they nerf it, it's still so good.
Yeah. And even I was really surprised when I looked at the patch notes. It was like, oh yeah, we're just going to give more burn to Gangplank. I was like, Gangplank's totally fine at the moment. He doesn't need more help.
Yeah, it's rough. This is a man who bullies a lot of early lane matchups just based on that passive. Trial by Fire is so disgusting. You forget it's there. We all see the giant barrel chains at like 30 minutes, and we forget that the early game is backed up by a giant flaming sword.
And I mean, look, T1's early game still backed up fairly heavily here. You're looking at CS leads pretty much across the board in every single lane. You got Oner, who's got good control as well. You're starting to get control of River, and this is where it starts to get really hard for PSG, because you see Bay like trying to lean down bot side, trying to see if maybe he can help out, but he just loses more CS to the tower. And it means that Faker, because he's been able to get all these waves, is going to hit level 6 about 45 seconds, and maybe can look to make some plays down in the spot lane.
Server's highlighting this ward for us. Thank you very much. TP can't really come through at this stage. Not available for Hanabi, not available for Bay, but good bit of vision maybe in the minutes to come. Not sure how much longer that has on it. But right now, T1, full control early game. This is not a bloody early game. This is just winning across all their lanes, winning in CS, taking away camps, a game of incremental advantages, and it's tough for PSG. Yes, at level 6, they're going to get a bit more agency, but it's the same thing is true for Faker, for Guma, for Zeus. It's a tough game.
And it becomes terrifying when you're looking at like dive potentials as well, right? Because you've got Faker with pretty much control of the wave here. He can actually freeze this if he wants to. You've got full control for Guma, full control for Zeus, and suddenly you get a Gangplank ult in on top of Faker, and it's a bad time for PSG Talon. And that's why you're kind of looking at Bay going, all right, well, getting the reset in now, but he really needs to hit that level 6 to try and peel away some of that T1 aggression.
Yeah. And we could be in a very different game if Faker doesn't survive that early game.
Yeah.
Something this game does get a lot harder because now PSG have a strong point to play around. Maybe Juhan gets that kill, you've got a Viego that's snowballing. But just the little things, the fact that he's able to survive in that context is pretty massive. Faker moving up towards the top side. Ultimate available, level 6 before Bay. This is big. Hanabi, are they going to go for the dive here? Looks like they're pretty confident. Juhan on the way in, but they are not concerned. Gwen immune, dodging out on the CC, but not enough healing to come through. First blood coming in for Faker, but they're trading back. It's a bit sloppy. Now Juhan wants to get one kill, he can get the reset, but doesn't quite have the space to do it. It works out okay, but a bit messy there.
Yeah, a little bit sloppy. I mean, it's the 2 for 2, and Base against the wave, but here we go.
Now the full commit on the bottom side. Guma already so incredibly low. Unified stepping forward, and what is happening? T1, it was so perfect, it was so controlled, and now it's just a mess.
It's all falling apart. PSG Talon actually getting that kill lead. Now, they're still behind in gold, and because Bay was able to collect that wave in the top side, at least the experience difference isn't going to be too much between the two of them, but, I mean, nice job from PSG Talon kind of finding advantages and, you know, turning around some of these plays from T1.
And credit to the bottom side of PSG for finding that play, for capitalizing on that opportunity. But top side, I gotta say, this is the reason that I think T1 fans are feeling a little let down this season, because I feel like domestically, we never would have seen those mistakes on that dive. And it's just these little bits of overconfidence or miscalculations or the wrong person taking the aggro there that I think have been plaguing T1 so much, because we know their early game is good, and this is something that where you feel like you have a strong point. But with the Viego here as well, it feels like they just bit off more than they could chew.
Yeah, I was surprised once I saw the Viego that went for this play, right? Because look, Hanabi instantly just hollowed missed the stun. He gets a ton of damage off. Juhan is left untouched as well, so he's just getting the follow-up on all of this. And even though Juhan does go down, getting these early kills across for like the Gwen, for the Viego, is actually fantastic. Whereas, you know, a double kill for the Twisted Fate, not really going to do a huge amount. And bot side, we're just going to get a quick replay as, yeah, Gumayusi just takes a couple of shots, Kaiwing steps into the bush, and we walk that pit too far forward, and they get to go.
And the thing there is that Keria burned the body slam earlier. Kaiwing either very aware of the cooldown or just sees an opportunity, goes in anyway. Very well played. And this is the thing. PSG, when we talk about it, yes, the synergy with mid-jungle isn't always there. But the two strong points of this team are the bot lane and the top lane. And those are both the points T1 try and attack. And I can get it, Dagda. There's a level 5 Galio. That's a great opportunity to try to make something happen. But now, T1, they hold on to their gold lead. Individually, in terms of laning, they are still smashing in terms of CS, but can't afford to make any more sloppy plays.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're looking at a team fight here for Rift Herald, I kind of give it to PSG Talon, right? Like, for T1, you're kind of waiting on Gangplank to scale into it. Faker wants to look more for picks, whereas Galio just brings more in a fight than the Twisted Fate does, but PSG trying to settle themselves into this.
Also, one thing to note is that gold leads are going to be, all things considered, difficult to track in this game because there is it's an inflation draft, so there is a GP and a TF, so they are printing money. Just something to note. So that money obviously balances out the fact that, with the case of Galio, he obviously has a passive that's going to do damage. Gwen has a passive that's going to do more. These guys are both mostly getting gold.
But yeah. I think the biggest thing here, I'm actually kind of surprised the PSG didn't try and take the fight, right? Like, you've got Tristana, who's in a pretty good spot. You've got the ability to kind of go in with Bay to have that big ultimate to spread out T1 and buy more space for Unified. But I think with the way the wave was for Hanabi in the top side, they just weren't comfortable trying to move him into position. So they'll settle for the Dragon, for the Rift Herald. But if T1 are able to open the map up with this Rift Herald, like use Faker's Destiny again, get some of these plates, get a tower, and suddenly you can play the map as T1, that's where I get a little bit worried for PSG Talon.
Certainly, you can see PSG maybe trying to make a play towards the bottom side. Galio hovering down just a little bit. Would love to get a few more plates into the back pocket of Unified. Try to snowball him ahead further again. Individually, he's got a 700 gold lead. That said, Faker, really the strong point. 1,200 gold ahead individually. Now they're going to try to shut him down, though. Big again. The CC comes in. Faker caught out into the tower. Excellent stopwatch to deny it. Oner, does he have a follow-up play here? Stepping forward. Gold card. Waiting on that one, just going to throw the red instead. But second dive attempt from the side of PSG, or gank attempt, it doesn't walk away with a kill. Faker, though, giving up a flash and a stopwatch is big for the fights to come. Yeah,
it's just unfortunate timing, though, because the flash is obviously back up after the first gank. You've also got the TP for Faker, so he can just get back into the lane again and continue to push. You really need to see the follow-up from PSG Talon to try and shut down Faker, and I like what they're doing, right? If you can stop Faker from Destiny around the map, it gives yourselves that time to get to the late game where you're stronger, but you definitely want to be trying to get some of these kills rather than just having Faker just walk his way out of that.
Yeah. Difficult situation to be certain. Again, has not been a game about big advantages for most of these mid lane plays. It's been about the little things. In this case, the flash and the stopwatch. See if they can punish that timing in the next few minutes. For now, however, Zeus is returning the top line, continuing to build this lead very rapidly. Yes, Gangplank gets extra money, but in this case, he also is getting extra CS. 10:58 Triforce completed. This man ahead of schedule, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, definitely is the MasterCard Mythic coming in there for the Triforce. But I gotta say, like, for T1, this is a very slow-paced game. This is very different from what we expect from T1. Like, you look at them in early, like, 4.5k gold difference at 14 minutes, and we ain't gonna be hitting that anytime soon unless they start ballooning the gold with these kills.
Well, Hanabi just burned his W, and that was a bad time to burn the miss, because now he's just getting burned down. Needlework gives him a bit of healing, but not nearly enough to do anything there. Wave coming in as well. T1, Herald on the top side. You wanted them to balloon a gold lead, Dagda. It might just happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to start doing it, right? Get those kills, now you get some turret plates. You've even got the Herald there as well, and that's the map pressure we're talking about for T1.
Oh, and it's difficult for PSG because they're moving members up like they want to respond, but they're already so far behind the play. The Herald's already going to get the charge off. Maybe they can stop the second, but the tower's already down, and again, more money for Oner, more money for Zeus, who was already so far ahead. Excellent play for T1.
Yeah, this is super nice. Second charge as well. I don't know if PSG are really going to be in a position here to try and mount anything, but T1 just got to back away. Bot side, though, is where I'm looking at Unified, who's trying to get on towards those turret plates as well. See if he can try and answer back for some of the pressure, but can't really do much against Gumayusi.
Very true. Boots 2 early on. Kalista, very frustrating to deal with. Yes, he has the Kraken Slayer, but obviously needs to land a lot of auto attacks for now. They're just trading farm here, and look at all of the vision on the bottom side for PSG as well. Really trying to make sure that he is safe down there. And it's interesting, Dagda. I was expecting a lot more like big Galio rogues.
I was ready.
Or big, crazy
just big
fights and plays. And I respect a controlled early game. But it feels like T1 were like, okay, controlled, took their foot off the gas. They did get that top lane play, though, and now it just feels like they're just really far ahead. They're just very, very far ahead. And now I feel like there's no reason for them to risk anything, and they can just play it out slow. Because it's like, we talk about scaling, yes, but that's a Gangplank on the top side. You're kind of chilling.
Yeah, I still think you kind of want to start like getting these side lane towers down a little bit as well, just so then you can actually like get a little bit more control and look for picks. Because I definitely feel like if you end up in these late game team fights where PSG Talon got 2-3 dragons for themselves, like that's going to be tough to take as T1, right? Like, how do you try and walk into these fights as Gumayusi against Gwen, against the Galio ult? There's so much on PSG side that you can actually deal with. So at least with Zeus having good control on top side, I wouldn't be surprised to see T1 like start to swap their lanes around, like move Gumayusi in towards the mid, and then you can start to move people into the mid lane as well.
Oh, kick goes over the wall, so they know Oner's in the area. Howl of Mist going down, trying to deny any potential follow-up. Oner flashing out to safety, but Bay burning ulti in that exchange. T1 still getting the tower anyway. Well, ask and you shall receive, Dagda.
Yeah.
4K gold lead. There it is. You wanted it maybe a couple minutes later than you expected it, but there it is. There's that dominant T1 gold lead.
I shouldn't have doubted them. I had to put my foot in it. But I think it's about to balloon as well, because I mean, with Bay now using that ultimate in top side, you got 30 seconds until the dragon. You don't have that big Galio ult available. Now you can start to actually move in there as T1 and stop the dragon stacking from PSG Talon where they want to take these fights later.
Ooh, Guma potentially in trouble here, though. Is very much in trouble here. That's going to be the taunt. Easy CC follow-up. No way out of that one. Does get a bit of damage back in return, but that's something. Slows down the push, at least on the bottom side.
So I'd like to correct my calculations. An ultimate missing on Galio is definitely better than a missing AD carry.
Okay, true.
I need to readjust here.
Yeah. We would call that, I think, a positive trade for the Galio side. That's it. Losing your mid lane tower against a TF comp with the GP. Very, very bad. That said, they're instead focusing on Kaiwing. Kaiwing caught out off to the side. There is so much CC on this composition, but it looks like PSG are getting ready for a fight. Ulti comes out. PSG debating. It looks like they're going to back away instead. Sonic Wave will not connect. T1 trying to fight their way back to the mid lane. Juhan waiting in the darkness, but has been spotted out. T1 wanting to keep this fight going. Keria waiting off to the side. No ulti available, but body slam flash certainly powerful enough. Unified. That's going to be the buffer coming out to take him to safety, and a quick body slam out to make sure Bay does not have an avenue to restart this fight. But T1 still stepping forward. They could go mid, but there's no wave to play on, so they're just going to keep walking into this PSG jungle.
Yeah, I mean, they got Guma back now, so they're going to be perfectly fine. 5 men strong. They're still waiting on the ultimate for Bay, so T1 will be able to push in mid, look back towards the dragon, and having zero vision as PSG in this river just means you cannot contest this anymore.
No. Solid spot to be again. Dragon stacking, always one of those outs that we talk about, always a way to start a fight. When you've got a 3-item Tristana later in the game, bait them into maybe an advantageous situation. But once the dragon stacking has been slowed at all, it takes so long to get to Dragon Soul. It takes so long to really force people to come in for those fights. PSG, though, can in the meantime look for a second Herald. Obviously less immediate gold value, but maybe we'll let them get back some pressure on the map. That said, everything comes at a cost when T1 are ahead in the early game, and right now it's going to be that bot lane tower.
Might even be the mid lane as well, because you've got Kalista who's pushing in there. You've now got the Gangplank who could start to roam around, so you've actually got still really good control for T1. And as you say, like, it's an investment of time into the top side, moving Hanabi there, getting Juhan there, and this is where you can actually get T1 trying to see if they can fight back.
Juhan trying to make his way out of this one. They're just going to force the Viego ult out of him. We'll get it back if he gets an opportunity to reset, but we'll struggle, obviously, without it pre-reset. So, again, small advantages, but they're starting to stack up. T1, 5K in the lead, 16 minutes in. Getting ready to break down this Tier 1 tower. PSG, a lot of members in the area. Seems like they're ready to fight to the death to keep that mid-Tier 1 alive, and I respect it, because I do not want to play the map against against T1 Faker on TF when your mid-Tier 1 is down. I got lost in the T's there, Dagda.
There was a lot of T's. But I wanted to look at Zeus as well, because like this guy is getting very quickly accelerated, and he's going to be a pretty big impact in these team fights as well. So it feels like if you're kind of drawing out this game kind of long as T1, if you've got control of the map, it gives you pace to look for those picks, and also then just have this Gangplank come in as a monster in the late game team fights. And if he ever finds a barrel onto Unified, like that's so much of PSG Talon's damage just gone out the window.
And it's interesting because we saw, I think, this build in the first game as well, where he opted for the Hull Breaker. Oftentimes we'll see more focus on crit if you want to go for the big barrels, but Hull Breaker obviously still such an incredibly powerful item. Looking to just continue to pressure out Hanabi in the individual 1v1. And you've seen GP across the entire map. This man is seemingly uninterested in PvP gameplay. Zeus has his eyes firmly set on knocking down every Tier 2 tower on the map.
But it's actually interesting, because I thought we'd actually see this a little bit from T1, right? I think Zeus has been well overperforming expectation. I think this guy's been an absolute beast, and I wanted to see him unleashed a little bit in a side lane. It felt like T1 were always grouping for team fights, like always looking for the Baron plays. And when you're going this build, you're not so much going for team fights, obviously with the Hull Breaker, but it's the extra bulkiness you give to your kind of minion in the side lane that makes it hard for Hanabi to deal with, as you can see. So this is actually a different style from T1. Not looking for team fights like they usually do. They're looking to play side lanes all day long.
And that is something that the TF empowers. Obviously, the Kalista pretty solid in a 1-3-1 as well. Very difficult champion to lock down. Can play more aggressive in the mid lane with the freedom to pull back, support at any moment. See what the call is for now. For now, just 4-1. T1 holding strong in the mid lane while Zeus just tries to build an advantage in side lane. And Hanabi, you can see down in CS. Yes, he has some early itemization, but it's just impossible to trade against this Hullbreaker Gangplank for now. Might change when the second item comes through. Nashor's can be quite strong. But for now, T1 just feel like they got exactly what they want out of this game.
I mean, it's the balloon and gold lead, right? You're looking at 6,000 gold, and this is what always boggles my brain against T1 whenever I watch them. Like, well, you know, there's not a huge amount of kills, but just the way they play the map, the fact that they're getting CS leads, the ability to just get this gold out of towers, it means they have these massive advantages. When you look back and you kind of do a double take, going, they're that far ahead.
I mean, it's 4-4. You know, you look at it, you look across the map, kills seem balanced. It's the CS. It's the towers that are really making the difference. So much early gold picked up by T1 on the back of some of these individual laning advantages. Zeus basically solo building that advantage. Yes, the team came in and helped him capitalize on it, really helped him push Hanabi down to make sure he could sustain that advantage so he could knock that tower down. But even before anyone else showed up in that lane, this man was 20-30 CS ahead, and that's something that has to be recognized.
Yeah, I mean, T1 across the board have just been absolutely dominant in that laning phase. But we'll have to see now if they can try and translate it, because I think that's been their biggest issue. And certainly this is a different look, as I said, for T1. Like, I think their biggest weakness has been trying to play side lanes where they've, not that they haven't been, it's just they've been unwilling to actually go into a side lane, even when you get, like, say on the Aurelia and he can pop off. So I think having him now on the side, it's actually going to be interesting to see how T1 do deal with this. And so far, it's been great from them.
Certainly has. Zeus continuing off on the side lane. Faker now going up to match Bay. So we get the full-on 1-3-1 in the mid lane. Keria, though, looking to make a play. Knockback clean again from Unified. Not going to make a sloppy mechanical mistake. Perfectly timed on the buffer.
And now PSG still just going to pop down this Rift Child, make sure they can get the push. They're trying to get control of mid for the Dragon that's in 20 seconds. Faker now even Destinying in.
Just trying to take away this Herald. Again, remember, that was traded for a Dragon and a Tower, but now it's going to amount to nothing. So overall, very, very positive trade for T1 previously. It turns even better here. PSG, though, it seems like they feel like they have to force a fight. They're immediately going in. The Wombo's looking solid. Gumayusi off to the backside. Zeus, if he can set up a perfect barrel, he might get something done, but it's not working out. T1, you had the 1-3-1, but you went for the fight anyway. Unified so low off to the backside of the fight, but they have not taken him down. But now the spears, they're starting to stack. Guma, can he finish this one? Zeus, so incredibly powerful. Bay buying space for the rest of the team. Now going to go golden. Gets a little bit more room. Keria forced away. The rest of the team now on the retreat. They might lose their mid-tier 1 for this, but overall, kills in the favor of PSG.
That looks so good for PSG at the start, but unfortunately Zeus comes in with the hero play to get Unified out of the equation, and now T1 can move over, claim the mid tower, claim the Dragon as their bounty as well if they want to, but looks like they're going to get the quick reset. But watch this fight as it kicks off, right? You get this great engage, but watch Zeus on the side here. Flashes over the wall onto Unified, and suddenly the main damage source from PSG is just completely out of the equation. And it looks great, right? You're like, oh, I can move forward here as Unified, I've got the advantage, but completely takes him out of the fight, and because Gumayusi and Keria are still there, the 3v4 is still too strong for T1.
And look at that health bar. You're talking sub 100 health in that context. Ooh, stunned up. Leaps back to the wild cards. Oner now trying to finish the job. That's going to be Oner kicking him out. T1 already advantaged in this fight as we come back from the replay. See what else they can get here. Juhan down. Rest of the team ready, potentially. Predator now coming out. Looks like it's just going to be the retreat. Hanabi dashing over the wall. Throwing down the miss. T1, though, still ready for a fight. Still going forward. Kaiwing already taken out. Hanabi in the midst of the entire team. The needlework doing lots of work. Unified, though, does take the Sonic Wave and get knocked down. It's clean from T1, and now that they've torn apart the front line, there is nothing left. As they knock PSG down. Hanabi, the last man standing, goes golden, but it's perfectly timed on the rent. Tower now to fall as well.
Man, they keep sneaking by onto Unified and just taking them out at these crucial moments. And now T1 with the mid lane turret, going to be totally all right to start moving around again. And it's just heartbreak for PSG because you can see how close these fights are, but they just can't find the success.
Yeah, the fights have been close for a lot of stages of the game, Dagda, but the gold lead just keeps getting more and more in favor of T1. And again, you highlighted the barrel previously. As we go to the second half of this fight, Oner's kick landing on Unified is everything.
Yeah, I mean, I thought here, you know, this is all going to be good, but Juhan having to tank the Sonic Wave there, able to follow up onto Juhan as well. Here means that you just get access onto Unified, and PSG Talon are pretty much just running for the wings here, waiting for Hanabi to try and join in. Then map packs happen and their OP is all hell, so T1 are just able to follow up here. And again, like, I'm kind of like, okay, you're going in real deep here, Faker. You've got like Unified in a really good spot. He's able to use the terrain as cover, but Oner just about landing that Sonic Wave across the wall with that barrel chain once more, and Unified just lights out every time.
And normally it's so hard when you're the GP and you're stepping forward to find these barrels. If people are coming into you, GP feels great to play, but it's really a credit to Zeus and Oner finding those avenues. 2 barrel chains in a row across 2 fights. This is not a battle between 80 carries. This is a battle between a Gangplank and a Tristana every single time.
And I even love the itemization from Zeus as well, going for the death stance, knowing that realistically the damage that he needs to be worried about is Unified, but also just buying more time for him in fights as well to get these big barrel chains off. And now, with Baron started, PSG trying to go in blind.
Of course, concerning for PSG, that's a whole breaker Gangplank, and he's about one-shotting the 80 carry. Doesn't even have any crit. Yeah, that's the knockback, though. Fight getting kicked off. Juhan already burning the ultimate. GP just to further isolate him away. Juhan, is he even going to try to go into the pit? Baron getting lower. Oner still staying focused on that one. It's a bit of a split call. As Hanabi leaps into the pit, he gets kicked right back out. Keria in the midst of the entire team, taking so much damage. No ulti reset from the Kalista on that one. Faker pulling out the wall axe. Sees everybody, but it looks like it's just going to be both sides backing off. That said, one creep in the mid lane, not enough for PSG to do a lot here. Maybe they can try and force the dive. T1 get the fight around the pit, but no one's going to grab the objective.
It's a split call from T1. Oner's still trying to finish off the Baron. They're like, hey, Juhan doesn't have flash. He's got no ult. We can actually try and finish this off. But, I mean, they end up losing out in the fight at the front of the Baron pit. Oner doesn't feel confident to finish it off. And then PSG Talon able to push them back. And just T1 again, just trying to overforce when this isn't their win condition. This is why I want to see them in side lanes. Like, this was working out super well for them, but the second you start going in towards these team fights, you open up for this front to back from PSG.
No. Still fishing for the 5v5, still forced out a fight, ultimately goes against them. When Guma's ult is up, maybe they can make a similar play and have the safety to pull Keria back out. But for now, Tristana getting stronger and stronger, Unified getting closer and closer to 3 items, something we have to keep an eye on as well. Of course, it's going to get harder and harder to land those Gangplank barrel chains as Tristana gets more range from her draw a bead passive. Shout out Atlas. Drawing a lot of beads. We don't know what it means. It's fine.
But it's provocative.
It's provocative.
It gets the people go.
From a distance. All right. Well, Dagda, 8K gold lead. Normally I'd be like, man, this 25 minutes, I'd be like, this game is donezo. But PSG, credit to them, have been finding some opportunities here and there, and they've been willing to fight more and more. That said, T1 just setting up one more time in the pit. Control ward down. This one has been spotted. 6K getting lower. TP's now coming in. 3K getting lower. Kaiwing in the midst of the entire team. Galio right on top of them, but who gets the Baron? The Baron is all that matters. That's the shutdown. Oh, Faker gets the Baron, but T1, are they just going to get routed in the pit? Already taken out. Zeus looking for the barrel chain over the wall. Where's the Gangplank barrel going to go? Looking for it, but he's not even going to go for it. At the end of the day, they get the Baron, but what a price. PSG take the fight.
T1, why are you flipping these? It doesn't make sense. Just try and play out the map. You literally all funnel into the pit, and PSG just wipe it up with a silver platter.
They got Baron on 2 members. They threw away a decent chunk of their gold lead, but they're still ahead. It's just, this is gambling League of Legends right here.
Yeah, but I mean, look, great engage from Kaiwing and the ultimate coming across. And look, Faker just with his smite manages to steal this one away. But Unified is in a great spot here, just dealing a whole bunch of damage off to the side. Everyone's still in the pit here, so you're getting like a ton of taunts off. Faker in trouble. You've already got Gumayusi out of the equation. Like, this is exactly how you group up for PSG Talon to actually like take those objectives, and they'll get the third dragon for themselves as well. It's just messy mid game from T1.
And shout out to Summoner Spellbook. Good catch on the smite there, Dagda. I thought it was a wild card or a wild auto potentially that had secured that one, but heads up play to have the additional smite. It's still high risk, even if you're packing an extra smite, I want to be clear. And at the end of the day, though, they do secure it. They do force PSG back. Gives PSG more time to farm, however. Gives them more gold on their individual carries. 4, 1, and 4 for Unified. Infinity Edge completed. If they kill him, I think the fights are pretty easy. If they don't, it can fall apart very, very quickly. However, for the next few minutes, Oner and Zeus, empowered by the Baron buff, are going to make the siege that much easier.
Yeah, PSG in a decent spot here to try and defend, though, with all 5 members here. Faker still trying to get control of the side waves and mid wave to make sure they can actually have pressure. So just be careful here as T1 that if Kaiwing does go for some sort of engage, it could be a bit worrisome.
TP up for Faker, ward in the brush. as well as over the wall, so he does have somewhere to play. Phase ult not quite available yet. Ooh, Dagda, it's tense.
I know. Yeah.
Wave stacking on the top side. Eventually, all these waves are going to crash at the same time. PSG will have to give up something. The question is, do they pull the trigger before that happens?
The lone cannon minion. Nobody wants to touch it because you know the second you go forward, Unified is like, I know there's an Oner kick coming. I know there's something coming my way.
And I like that they've just set Oner in the mid lane, though, as well, in the context of this one. Because he's just sitting there, ushering in the wave while the rest of T1 can move in on the bottom side. They've still got the luxury of the stun card to stop any potential engages or at least threaten. PSG, it feels like they're fiending for a fight, but they certainly do not want to give up any of their inhibitor towers.
This is the last wave for the Red Bull Baron power play, though. You can see just 20 seconds
Han
left.
goes in, Oner off to the side. Kick still up and available. They just zoned him away. He's half health now. It's going to be difficult to get that health back without a camp in the area. Maybe PSG see this opportunity. Dead man's played on the Viego. He can get in there very quickly if he needs to. Some of the recalls. Remember, only 2 have the empowered recall. Oner now completely out of the fight. But PSG really in no position to respond here. Instead, just going to focus on clearing out their camps and getting control back on their side of the map.
Yeah, and that's the big one, especially with 2.5 minutes until this Dragon. They want to make sure that they're getting control of side wave, not letting T1 have control of the map before that big objective comes up, because the Hex Tech Dragon is going to do so much for PSG, even just helping Unified out in these fights so damn much.
Unified, Hanabi, it's a terrifying prospect. That's a very powerful soul. Every time we get a Hex Drake, I just laugh because I can, I met Ox for the first time at this tournament, and I did not think any man could love a Rift more than that man loves Hex Gates.
Ox is a very passionate man when it comes to League of Legends.
I've noticed. I've heard a lot about Waze Volibear over the last few days. We'll see if that shows up in our next game. Of course, G2 versus RNG. But for now, there's no Hexgate gaming. There's no crazy mobile plays across the map. It looks like it's just going to be stock standard. Get mid control. Get a little bit of vision. See where the objective is going to go. 2 minutes on Soul, 2 minutes on Baron, and you have to feel like this might favor PSG as they're the only one who can actually take Soul in this context. T1, it's just another Drake.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, though, I think T1 are doing the right stuff. Pushing side lanes, make sure that you've actually got pressure on the map, because at a minute 30, realistically, this is where you want to start moving in as T1 and trying to get that vision. See if you can get that early vision for the early pick before the Dragon actually comes up. But at least with Faker down the top side, Destiny Pop to know that it's just Hanabi here. And maybe look to move in towards the mid lane.
Alting down. Yep, just again, the battle. Get mid prio. Once you see people respond to your mid prio, get vision. It is stock, standard, chess like League of Legends, but T1 obviously very favored because they have significantly more mid towers to help make sure that PSG cannot push their vision line any deeper. So that powerful early game still paying off alongside the 8K gold lead. Still very, very consequential, obviously, but I think it's mostly about tracking the big damage threats in these fights, aka Unified on the side of PSG. He lives, he autos, good fight. He dies, he doesn't auto, bad fight for PSG. That's my analysis.
I was going to say, we went from like chess, which was super intense, to like 5-year-old math. Like we're getting both sides of the spectrum.
Look, I'm not even good at chess. I'm not a chess theory guy. A lot of people got into it after like Queen's Gambit or whatever. I couldn't. I'm not a chess man. I'm a hit the Tristana man. You know what I mean? Go and push your buttons.
The Unga Bunga go for it.
Unga Bunga shoot the Trist. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, PSG looking to see if they can try and push forward here, get that mid prio that they're looking for. They do have pressure on bot lane here for T1, so PSG definitely going to lose a wave here as they go forward.
T1 confident that PSG can't realistically start the Baron, and obviously the 5-second discrepancy between spawn timers means that they have priority access over the pit.
I mean, this is great for Zeus as well. He's just getting to set up his barrels as he likes. Now you got Hanabi going. We need to get the flank.
Going into the pit, now it's a little bit more chaos. Nice Hexgate gaming, but Oner's clean on the smite. Unified off to the side has been zoned away by the GP, but Zeus is completely out of the fight. If PSG can start a fight right now, they are very favored. Predator now coming forward. Kaiwing mounting up the stun to Bay as well, but Zeus is just retreating. PSG not able to get anything off of that. It is an opportunity, it is a window where they can force a 4v5. Gangplank ult is down, but they just cannot find the engage as T1 pull back, giving the respect that PSG deserve.
Yeah, you need to look for the flash engage from Kaiwing. T1 now kind of leading them over towards the Baron as Zeus is going to deal with that wave in the top side, and PSG still looking, but you just don't have those big tools to kind of get these fights started if Kaiwing isn't in a position to follow up on anything.
No. Ultimately well played. T1 got exactly what they came for, denied the soul, give themselves a bit more time. Baron, yes, still on the table, but now it is one central win condition. and they lose nothing despite Zeus getting zoned out of the initial fight.
And PSG Talon actually lost a good amount on sideways, right? You had T1 pushing topside initially. There was the big wave of bot that got lost as well. So T1 now get to collect the waves as they crash back into them, which means they're, as you can see, the gold lead actually ballooning a little bit off that play. So T1 kind of get away with a lot off of that, and we'll have to see now if PSG can find this team fight at Baron, because T1 all starting to swarm around it once more.
Yeah, I think it's so good that you highlight the wave control. It's something that people might gloss over in the midst of what have been a chaotic almost fight, but it continuously feels like it's favoring T1. Again, you can see waves stacking PSG. If they stick to this fight, T1 keep them in the area, they may lose out a lot in terms of CS, and Zeus is just playing on the edge here.
I'm just watching Kaiwing. Every time someone steps close, I'm like, Kaiwing, you've got the flash. What are you going to do? And maybe they're going to go for it here.
Oh. Gwen burning the miss, though, very early on. Small window where she's quite vulnerable, and Keria sees it. He's going to try to get this fight kicked off. Gold card goes in. The rest of the team now being split up. Unified, the kick has connected. Trying to create as much space as they can with the Galio, but now he's leaping out to safety. He's still standing, but TF can go in anywhere he wants to. Viego on the backside, just focusing on Unified. Unified, the spear from downtown. Guma finds his man and knocks him down. Juhan going golden, but T1, they've already taken the fight. It's a TP to the top side. They might just end this game.
Keria is a beast. The absolute Chad going in, managing to get that moment of time where Gwen was not immune, and T1 will now expose the base of PSG Talon.
And you wanted to watch Kaiwing. Here he is in the picture-in-picture Dagda. He could not find the engage, could not find the opportunity. Now T1 just moving in for the win. Mostly clean, mostly controlled, a few oopsies here and there, but ultimately proving themselves the better team, moving themselves up to 4-2, keeping PSG down at 2-4.
Yeah, I mean, look, T1 had good Zeus is stepping up with the best.
Yeah, pleasure to watch. Gangplank, not always flashy, but the barrel combos are the flashiest bit, and he hit those barrel combos very good. Well, after the break, we're going to be